In 2002, the Walla Walla District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers initiated a 4-day training exercise together with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation in eastern Oregon. The immersion-style training offered Corps personnel the opportunity to learn about the history and culture of the tribes through highly interactive workshops and other activities. The goals were to gain a better understanding of Native American perspectives of cultural and natural resources and to enhance government-to-government relations when making resource management decisions. The U.S. Army has served the nation for over 200 years. From early coastal fortifications to water resource development to disaster relief, Army engineers have met many of the needs of the American public. Along the way, the Army itself encountered cultures who had lived countless generations on the land. The Army has had a long relationship with Native Americans in the West, starting with Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery through the signing of the Treaty of 1855 with Pacific Northwest tribes to the present. The Army, and more recently the Corps of Engineers, has often worked closely with Indian people. The Walla Walla District was formed in 1948, primarily to construct McNary and Lucky Peak dams, as well as the 4 lower Snake River dams. These projects and others affected and still affect resources that are important to tribal people. The district currently works with 14 tribes in protection of natural and cultural resources on our projects. The federal government has an immense trust responsibility to the Native American nations. We are required, as part of the federal government, to consult with them on a government-to-government basis on issues that directly affect the resources guaranteed to the Native Americans under the treaties of 1855. Our requirement is set forth not only in the treaty but in the Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act, NAGPRA, or the Archaeological Resources Protection Act, ARPA, among other laws. Not only do we feel obligated to consult with the tribes because of the law, but we also feel it's the moral and right thing to do to respect their culture.
My name is Carl Sampson. They gave me the name of our great leader. Pio Pio Mox Mox is his name, which means yellowbird in the Walla Walla language. He was a man that signed our treaty of 1855 and went on to lead our people through many hardships. But this land we're on now is part of the land where he lived, he roamed with his people for hundreds of years. It's a very sacred, very religious part of our people. It's a beautiful land.
Beyond being involved in military and civil project development, Army engineers have also demonstrated a concern for the environment. For instance, when the Army helped in the establishment of Yellowstone National Park, it aided in the protection of buffalo and other natural resources. Army engineers actually warned of rapid salmon decline along the Columbia River in the late 1800s, 50 years before the construction of Bonneville Dam. This practice of environmental caretaking has evolved through Corps of Engineer history as it responded to the wishes of the American public. In the last 2 decades, the Corps has embraced the practice of environmental sustainability as an overarching philosophy for managing the nation's natural resources. Lieutenant General Robert Flowers drafted 7 environmental operating principles. These principles underscore the Corps' role in and responsibility toward sustainable use, stewardship, and restoration.
We spent a lot of effort training, looking for new sources and how to teach our people about the environment. Many of those searches led us to great technical information in the hard sciences of environmental restoration. But what was missing was the true understanding and value that we need to have environmental principles take effect in the organization in a broad-scale way. We realize that perhaps listening to indigenous people, particularly in our country, the Native Americans, might give us the kind of insights and understandings and a sense of value that perhaps we didn't have. We put together a program in partnership with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation to bring people into a Native American setting, into the natural environment. We laid out a course structure that would address the environmental issues, the cultural resources, in addition to just how people can work together in a team-like way, build synergy around ideas and concepts, and basically learn how to relate with each other.
And the reason we're doing this is to let them understand better who we are and not make decisions in a boardroom or in a meeting room.
We see Native Americans in our colleges and in our armed forces, and so we think of them as part and parcel, completely integrated into our society, and we forget that they have a culture unto themselves that the rest of us have to learn about. For us to be able to spend a week in the field getting an in-depth look, it really causes a huge paradigm shift. It's just very relaxing. It's kind of put everybody in the right frame of mind. Part of that work burden has been left behind as soon as we got out here and set up our own first teepee.
The beginning of the experience at Indian Lake was having each group put up their own teepees to live in. A teepee was our way of life 150 years ago.
The Corps of Engineers is adopting the philosophy to become a learning organization with all the processes and systems that entails to collect information and disseminate knowledge amongst its employees. It's important that we not only are able to put forth what we do with the Native Americans and our other stakeholders like environmental groups, municipalities, states, but also that we listen to them, because communication is a two-way street.
And I think the most important thing about bringing federal agencies up to, this kind of level is so that we can better understand our relationship and better perpetuate that relationship for the consideration of the resources when decisions are being made. You have a whole bunch of stakeholders out there that you have to consider when making decisions. But I honestly feel that the Native Americans have been at the bottom of that list, when in reality, legal rights, we probably have one of the most strongest legal rights that we should be looked at because of that treaty.
Just in my short time in the district, I've met a lot of our employees who are frustrated by some of the cultural resource issues that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis in protecting our Indian historic and cultural resources. If our leadership has not been exposed to the tribes or has not worked with Native Americans, they're not really sure why that is important. When you're able to come out here and hear the history of it and hear the Indians talk about their love for the land and the way that they are one with the land, that would give the leadership a better feel for why it's important to aggressively consult with the tribes and work with the tribes on those issues.
When you're dealing with people who have a culture that is as long-lived as the tribal cultures, they're not in as big a hurry about things as we are. They look at a much longer vision, 7 generations out. They're not looking at next week's deadlines for meetings. That translates into the way that they do business.
Boy, I'll tell you, if there's one thing I've learned in this 13 years working for the tribe, is that science is a small piece. Science can only take you so far. And then you have to rely on something else. And that's their creator, and that's their elders, and it's their worldview.
If you look at a watershed, you have to look at everything. You have to look at all the foods, medicines, fibers, animals, plants, everything that's in that watershed. If you can restore a watershed to where it's running better water than it was for the last 100 years, then we're on our way. When you're on the plateau like this, you've got landmarks, and you can't get lost out here. Like, I can go on the res proper, I can look to the north, see the Tucana and Manaha Wilderness just barely sticking up over the skyline, and I know that's the end of our country, and on the other side is Nez Perce.
There's also a very spiritual part of this part of our Mother Earth that's important to those young people you're talking about. They've been coming to me more than ever now, the last 10 years, saying we want to go out and find ourselves. We want to find that spirit that's out there waiting for us, the Waiakan. And so this is one of the special areas that my son and I have established. They're starting to understand, they're starting to listen more, they're starting to have more of a heart like our people think of. And it's something I hope that will continue for time to come.
Yes,
You want to angle up better.
well, yeah, you want a little more of these serrations and less of this crushing.
Oh, okay.
So I want to show you the difference.
There's a big gap, and we're going to make that bridge to cross that gap is by communicating with one another so they'll understand what we've gone through, the things we do in the sweat house, the things we do making our different tools that we go out, gather foods, hunt with, the things that make us who we are. We've brought them into our sacred sweat house, and we've made them experience what we do, how sacred that ground is that they sit on when they're going through this time in the sweat, the songs that we sing, the prayers that we talk about, and it's a total different thing for them to experience.
It was a chance to really sit back and enjoy quiet, enjoy singing, enjoy the conversation, and learn about the women of the tribe and their cultures and their experiences as well.
The other part of it is the program we have in the evenings. My grandson and my daughter tell them some of the Indian food, show them how the Indian women used to work so hard to feed our people with things like haush that has grown plentiful all over our Blue Mountains, our sweet, a sweet carrot-like food that can be eaten raw, our huckleberries, wiwano, all those other foods that make us who we are, that are vital and important.
And these are the tule, and you dry them in the sun. And when you look at a lot of the mats, they'll be a buckskin color. They start off, like right now, last year's are a nice pale buckskin color. These are kind of a pale green this year right now. And you'll look at the bottoms, and you'll see how we'll soak the bottom.
My grandchildren, they bring me so much pride every time I see them out on the dance floor. Every time they come to my home, it's such a good thing for them. They've all learned these different values that will be carried on by them. There's so many good things that happens at these gatherings where we trade stories, tell stories about one another. And it's not just all business. It's kind of letting their guard down, letting them be at ease. This is called Dancing with Coyotes. Really helping them in their daily lives and their work to relieve a lot of the tension that happens to people in their positions, both for them and for our people too.
Native American culture is so centered around being in harmony with nature and the environment that we actually get to live environmental operating principles and get to see the benefit of thinking environmentally. To someone with an environmental background like myself, that's probably not as big a deal. To someone who's an attorney or maybe a real estate specialist or a civil engineer who's never really done any of that, never spent a lot of time in the woods, never given a lot of thought to those issues, it really is an eye-opener, and it's something that we appreciate and we'll continue to do.
anytime you can engage a stakeholder on their turf, it's far more powerful than sitting in your office talking to them on the telephone. For me to spend 3 days at Indian Lake, sleeping in a teepee, going to sweat lodges, and listening to the perspective and the stories of the tribal people was incredibly valuable and would be something that anyone who works with tribes certainly should undertake.
Thank you.
I feel this is really going to help me with how I make decisions on the salmon issues. The more I know about how the tribes feel about the salmon and how they would like to see things, the better I'll be able to do my job.
Until I went to the training and I heard them sharing their thoughts and their ideas and how they value these sites. It could just be a place in the woods sacred to them. I didn't have any understanding of that value, and in the future I will deal with those sort of issues in a better manner.
The first day or two I could feel kind of a lot of tension, could feel what was bothering a lot of you. Second couple days, things were starting to get a little bit easier. We were talking to each other. And then today, later on, everybody's joking, having a good time, man. All that tension, everything has gone out of us, and it really does all of us good. Because to me, that's what this earth is about, helping all of us. And I see people really laughing better and just good things happening. And then with Colonel Injun Ears here, he's got a new name now.
Injun Ears.
Injun Ears. Yeah.
He listens to the Indian people.
Yeah. That's right. That's for him to listen a lot better, so rather than arguing with us all the time. So. And then
the bottom line is, this is one of the most effective ways that we've been able to come up with to get people a true understanding of not only Native Americans as a group that we have some responsibilities to, but also to learn from them how to live and work and reside in the planet in a sustainable way. And it's from these lessons that I think we really can achieve sustainability, not only in the Corps of Engineers, but in other places in the country and around the world. And that's why we believe this training has such an enormous benefit and can have a long-term and lasting impact for humanity.
Medium and strong. That's the first thing I changed.
The whole experience at Indian Lake is more of an understanding of who we are, even for our people, of where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going in the future. That's what it's all about for our people. And it all depends on how our leaders take us there right now, like our leaders did 100 years ago. We teach them who we are so they'll know those plants, the berries, the animals, and where we're going with that. Because if we don't have those things, we'll die as a people, as an Indian people, as an indigenous people, when those plants and those animals leave us. That's why we're there to protect them. We're the saviors of this earth, I feel. And it's something they want to leave there for 7 generations, maybe 14 generations from now. It's something that we all have to learn, or we'll all perish from this earth. Thank you.
The Walla Walla District and Umatilla tribes have forged a great working relationship in many areas involving cultural and natural resource protection. Through our Native American training held at Indian Lake, we've both come away with a better understanding of our mutual responsibilities as well as each other's cultures. We feel that this mutual understanding can be translated to other districts, other tribes, and other agencies so that we can all foster partnerships that will lead us towards the environmental and cultural sustainability we're all working to achieve.